Good afternoon or evening, everybody. Welcome back to another tropical forecast on Ada, as it's still a borderline tropical depression at 35 miles an hour, but it is advancing further into the Western Caribbean, meaning it is going to get closer and closer to becoming a tropical storm. Due to that, we do have tropical storm warnings now issued for much of Cuba, and obviously tropical storm watches as well for portions of Cuba. We have yet to get any alerts or watches or warnings for Florida yet, but I do expect by the end of tonight some tropical storm watches for the Florida Keys, as chances for landfall are continuing to increase now. So since the southern Florida area is the main area for landfall for the United States, but obviously keeping a close eye on the Cuba area, and obviously as well as the general areas near Cuba, the Keys, Miami, the general areas in southern Florida, as they can possibly see over 60 to 70 miles an hour, and maybe gusts stronger than that, as there's still a chance this could be very strong as a tropical storm, maybe very low category 1 hurricane. By the time it gets to Florida here, so exactly we'll be looking at the timing of the landfall, intensity, where will it actually make landfall, and obviously we're going to be looking at where would it go after its first landfall in Florida. But without further ado, let's go to the video. So here's looking now at the National Hurricane Center. We actually have a new invest here at 20% here. I'll keep a close eye on that right now. I actually didn't suspect anything to come out there, but there it is, a 20% chance in the next 5 days. But there's Ada, still a tropical depression as of now. But pressure continues to drop now. It's at 1,002 millibars, so it's getting closer to being sub 1,000, meaning it's going to get very close now to becoming a tropical storm. So pressure is very low for tropical depression at this point. Once you get below 1,006, that's when you really get the tropical storms. But this is now moving northeast at 7 miles an hour. So last time we checked, it was going north-northwest. Now it's going northeast. So that's a sharp northeastern turn we were expecting there. The National Hurricane Center did very good on predicting where it's going to come out. So I give props to the National Hurricane Center. I definitely do. And they have now tropical storm warnings and both watches as well for Cuba, but nothing for Florida yet. But I do expect stuff for Florida by the end of tonight. Maybe most likely watches for the Keys, especially the Keys. Maybe not inland Florida yet, as there's still a lot of uncertainty, but the Keys almost have a guarantee for landfall. So this will not avoid Florida, or it wasn't avoid Florida at all, but this won't avoid southern Florida. So Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Homestead, the Keys, you guys can definitely have a landfall. And there's been a very large and significant eastern trend ever since my latest video. And not only is the eastern trend to now actually showing a landfall for southern Florida, unlike yesterday, but also getting it to the east coast now. So Miami, Homestead, Key Largo, Fort Lauderdale, there's a bit more of a eastern trend. So it's such a big eastern trend now that's actually going to be hitting the east coast, or the main east coast of Florida, and not just the Keys. So areas like Miami, Homestead, you guys can rule out not only getting the eye wall, but maybe even a direct landfall. So that's something to keep in mind. But let's check out the low pressure there. As you see, this low pressure is finally starting to get really closed up. Now, yesterday it was really open, but now it's actually over water. This low pressure actually is over a lot of convection. So there's the center convection starting to come back once again. Obviously, it's very disorganized, just a lot of junction of clouds. You can't really tell where the banding is, if there's any at all, because there's not really not much banding. But you can kind of see there is a lot of outflow right here, but that's really all you can kind of see. Maybe you can kind of see a little bit of inflow going this way, and that's where you can kind of see that low pressure right there. So low pressure is right here. A few miles off the Belize coast, probably like 50 miles off the Belize coast. But there you see, now we are starting to see some more convection and cloud cover starting to cover up that low pressure. So we aren't seeing it super wide open and exposed to any factors. So that's a sign that this is trying to get to a tropical storm, and expected to possibly now head for areas like Cuba, and then go directly towards the Homestead area, Key Largo, that general area there, Florida City, and that general area there. Let's check out another National Hurricane Center update. This is actually the update we saw around 30 minutes ago, I believe. So as you can kind of see there, we have a lot of tropical storm warnings all the way from the western tip of Cuba all the way up to the eastern coast of Cuba. So that's actually a lot of covered ground to look at. So all the way from here to here, that's a good, probably, I would say, if you compare it to Florida, I'd probably say that's a good 300 miles of just areas under warnings, to watches, as well, though. Betty is going to be going just north of these general areas where we also have tropical warnings as well here. So that's always something we need to keep in mind. But as you do see, the National Hurricane Center has an eastern shift, but it's not like doing a big eastern shift like global models are showing. Those are showing making landfall on the eastern coast, really. But these are kind of taking it to the Gulf Coast, like Key Largo, or sorry, not Key Largo, like actual Key West and the far western islands there. But I mean, the Cayman Islands, you guys obviously have tropical storm warnings, as well as you guys will get the eye wall, because it's gonna go just to the northwest of you guys. So that's gonna leave the Cayman Islands at a very big risk for seeing the worst of the impacts here. And we got tropical storm warnings as well for central Cuba here. Last time we saw tropical storm warnings at this far central into Florida, or sorry, into Cuba, was because of Laura. So that's the last time we've seen tropical storm warnings in this general area. But this western Cuba area has been very active. This is the fourth time in the last month that there's been some type of alert for western Cuba, whether it's a watch or warning. Gamma, obviously Delta, and um, as well this, and other few storms as well in October. But they're showing really a direct landfall for Key West, basically. But that'll most likely shift a bit more to the east. If anything, I would shift it kind of this way here. I'm actually gonna go like this. I would shift it kind of this way toward at least near the Homestead area. And the chances for a landfall in the Panhandle are very slim. So it's gonna probably make landfall right here, and then they're showing kind of going like that. So that's probably what's gonna happen here. It's gonna probably go like what the GFS is showing there. That's what they're showing here. They have it coming out, and then they have it making landfall in the Big Bend. So the chance for a landfall in the Panhandle is very, very slim right now. So there's been a big significant change there, but they don't have it getting to a hurricane at all. But I mean, this is going to be a very long topic. I mean, all the way by Wednesday, this is still a tropical storm in the Gulf of Mexico here. So it's going to be a very long topic right now for like another whole week here, if not even a bit more. So this is what we have for the alerts. As you see, there we got tropical storm warning for the Grand Cayman Islands, and as well other areas right here into the central coast of Cuba. And that's including the central southern coast right here and the central northern coast right here. And Havana as well, much of western Cuba is under those tropical storm watches. I kind of see it's going to go just like, or based on the National Hurricane Center, it's going to go just like this. But other global models now, and even uh, other models such as computer models, are also showing it now going a bit more inland or going a bit more to the east like that. So that's kind of what they're showing here. So Miami and Homestead, you guys are definitely at a chance to get some pretty harsh conditions compared to what was expected if you were to ask me or anyone else on, or tomorrow, or sorry, yesterday. If you were to ask anybody yesterday, they're going to be saying there's going to be more impacts than they thought. But here is still some models right now. These are newly refreshed. We still see the majority of these are still showing it not making landfall for mainland Florida. You only have two getting it to mainland Florida. The rest are getting it to the Keys, the Key West area. So Key West is definitely going to get an impact without a doubt, no matter if it goes into inland Florida or if it misses it completely, which it probably won't do at all anymore. So Key West is definitely going to get impacts throughout that time frame there. As well, another area to look at here, another track is this really. So it's gonna get very close to the Cayman Islands. Actually, there's actually a small possibility it can make a direct hit. It has to go really far east like that, and it'll have to go like that if it had hit the Cayman Islands, which it probably won't get hit the Cayman Islands, but it's gonna get very, very close to the Cayman Islands. So gonna get some harsh impacts there. But we still have a very widespread area of uncertainty where it goes. So if it goes here, it's gonna miss Florida completely. If it goes here, it's going to hit Miami or Homestead. So there's still a very big uncertainty here. This is a good, if you look at it, probably a good 100 miles of just uncertainty there, 150 miles. So I mean that's still a lot, and it's going to be making landfall in Cuba by the next 48 hours. So I think by the time we get to the next 24 hours, then we'll probably have a way better idea to kind of cutting it off to like maybe this general radius, but that's what we hope. But as well, these are only showing 2 for mainland Florida and the rest to the Keys or to missing. So the Keys is definitely probably the biggest at risk for landfall right now, but chances for Miami, Homestead, and mainland Florida are increasing as well. We just need these tracks to kind of reload here. Maybe we'll probably see by the 0Z because there's been nothing ever since I ended my video. There's been nothing but a Eastern shift with the global models: GFS, CMC, Icon, NAV, GEM, even H4 and HMON. And obviously, those are way more reliable than any computer model. But yeah, as well, a very big radius here as well. I mean, that's like equivalent to here to here. I mean, that's around 150 miles there. But as well, like I said, chances are really slim now for the panhandle as they're expecting actually kind of do an S shape. You can kind of see an S shape right there. That's not something you see much. An S shape, you can clearly see there's actually an S right there. That's actually pretty rad if you look at the if you compare the thickness. I mean, that's definitely an S right there. That's a pretty cool track there. Definitely a unique track. You don't see much that it actually doesn't do this like you would see normally. It's actually not probably either way if it hits mainland Florida or not. It's gonna do an S track because it's still gonna come out and like that. I mean, it's still gonna be an S track no matter if it makes landfall in Florida or not. So the question isn't is it gonna hit Florida or not anymore. It's gonna be where in Florida does it actually hit. The question is the Keys or mainland Florida. When I mean mainland, I mean Miami, Homestead, Florida City. But when I talk about the Keys, I'm actually just talking about Keys, areas that are not exactly connected from Florida. Obviously, they're connected by a bridge, but you get what I mean. So we still have only 2 models showing a mainland landfall, while the rest are showing hitting the Keys, and we also have a good bit still also showing it not hitting Florida at all. But I think the chance of it missing Florida are still very slim now. A lot more slim than I thought yesterday. And then a lot of them seem like they're going to do like a northeastern turn right after it goes down the water, so possibly heading for the areas just north or just over Tampa Bay. So Tampa, you guys can obviously get a direct hit now. So Tampa is at risk for a landfall. You don't really see that many landfalls in Tampa Bay. If you see any landfalls in the in the Gulf Coast of Florida, it's the Panhandle, not Tampa Bay. I don't know the last time Tampa Bay saw a landfall. So it would be very odd to get an actual Tampa Bay landfall. Obviously they weren't really expecting that. They were expecting impacts, but not a landfall. So I think eyes have kind of gone towards Tampa as well, not Tallahassee. Not like people were really watching Tallahassee as well at any point, but the Big Bend. The Big Bend was definitely the second landfall for Florida, most likely. But now it looks like it's going to be shifting a lot more to the south because of that eastern shift. So it's gonna be that second northeastern turn a lot sooner there. So yeah, definitely. There's a lot of questions with this. Obviously, where in Cuba will it hit? Obviously, where in Florida will it hit? Is there still a small chance it could not hit Florida? Where's the second landfall? What could it get to a hurricane? Blah blah blah. I mean, there are just so many questions with the storm. There's a lot of uncertainty. It kind of reminds me of Isaias when there's so much uncertainty when it was actually happening, not days away, but actually happening. There was still uncertainty exactly hours before where to go. I mean, this is definitely another Isaias with a lot of uncertainty, even though it's not too far at all. So here's looking now at the GFS here. This is the 18Z, and they're also doing a big eastern shift. Like I said, the new global models are now showing a big eastern shift now, getting it towards the areas of actually mainland Florida. So let me actually move this a little bit like that. You can actually see they're actually doing a landfall now directly over the Homestead area at 989 millibars. So 989 millibars, I know it sounds like a hurricane, but in this case it would actually be a tropical storm because the pressure is going to be so low, but the strength is the pressure is going to be super low, but so will the strength. Right now it's at 1,002 millibars, and 1,002 millibars is usually a low end tropical storm, 40 to 50 miles an hour. But In this case, it's 35 miles an hour, 1,002 millibars, and that's going to gradually keep on going. It's going to be having very low pressure based on its speed or based on its strength. Like you would think, oh, at 989 millibars, it'll be a low in category 1. But if you actually look at the 10-meter winds, and this is actually gusts. This is actually in gusts that you don't see anything over 50 knots. Anything over 50 knots, really, in that time frame. To actually check this time frame, I see you have a little purple right there, but that is the slightest. So you don't see anything really going over 63 miles an hour, even though it's 989 millibars. So this is, I know pressure. It looks like a hurricane, but it won't make landfall as a hurricane based on the GFS. I think chances for a hurricane for Florida are very, very low at this point. So probably just gonna get hit by a slight or a very strong tropical storm, and they have it going far in and then coming out a lot later. So that's why all the eyes are in this general area and not the Panhandle or Big Bend anymore, because it's gonna be going a lot more to the east, making it's gonna be coming out later, and it's gonna do that northeastern turn sooner. Because either way, it's gonna do an S, whether it's coming out later or sooner. Because obviously, if it hits the Key West, that means it won't come out later, because it's not gonna come out at all, because it's not gonna make landfall in mainland Florida. So that means it'll do that northeastern turn a lot later, which means obviously probably the Big Bend and the Panhandle. But if it comes in making landfall like this, then I'll do it probably like that. I haven't seen the GFS, so I don't know if I'm actually right. But yeah, I guess I am. See, that was literally my circle, not showing a landfall there for those general areas in Big Bend anymore. So then you gotta keep eyes on a general time frame or that general area. It's like the CMC as well, showing it actually making landfall. It's a little bit more to the west than GFS, but only slightly. GFS took it right here near Homestead, and this one is taking it actually near Key Largo, and then scooping up into Florida, and then going out to sea and staying in the sea for a long time. I mean, a long time. Like, and it hit Florida till November 12th again. So think the CMC, I think that was I don't know. CMC, I wouldn't really rely on that at all. Check out the icon as well. Icon also, it's not showing landfall anymore. So yeah, Icon's showing it just kind of surrounding the Cuban coast. So that's a little interesting, because Icon has actually been one of the most frequent models that have been showing an eastern coast landfall for Florida, and now they don't even show that anymore. So that's very interesting. Check out the nav gem. Nav gem has shifted a bit more to the south compared to last time. Last time it was like right here, I believe so, but now it's all the way down here. And obviously as well, so has strength weakened significantly, showing at landfall at 990 millibars, but going super far inland. Like, I mean, going all the way up to Orlando and not coming out till that time. And then they have been kind of doing a loop and hitting just north of Tampa Bay. So there's a lot of weird tracks here. There's a lot of possibilities. But, I mean, it's really hard to trust a stern one here. But we're going to be looking at the 10-meter wind gust. This is 10-meter wind gust and not for southern Florida here. Because all eyes are in southern Florida right now. Not anywhere else in Florida. And as well as Cuba. But sadly, there's not a Cuba map here. But as in the next 24 hours, we're going to be seeing up to 32 knots in some areas in central Florida, in southern Florida. And that is not really directly related to actually Ada at all. But once we get kind of in the next 36 hours, that's when you really start to get winds up from Ada. And you see the Keys by the next 36 hours. So early Sunday morning, we're going to start getting wind gusts up to 44 knots, which is kind of it's about worth 50 miles an hour. And then that's actually not, that's not 44 knots. This is 44 knots. This is 38 knots. So this is actually worth about 45 miles an hour. And this is worth about 50 miles an hour. So we're already seeing strong winds coming in there. Again, the next 42 hours. Then this is all the eye wall right here. This is the eye wall. You're gonna see the eye very soon. And then you start to get now up to 47 knots. So getting closer to now 60 miles an hour. In the next 48 hours, there you can see that low pressure. There it is, the low pressure. And then you got the eye wall right there. Now crossing that 60 knots. 60 knots, which is around like 70, or so not 70, around 68 miles an hour. And then we go even further, and there you can see that clear low pressure right there. And you start to see in the next 51 hours some really strong gusts coming in now for southern Florida. Now, just off the Keys, the Key Largo area, we have over 50 knots there, around 54 knots. So that's around 60 miles an hour. But for Miami, for areas near Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood, you guys can start seeing now over 50 miles an hour, and that's not gusts, that's sustained. And then right here, you start to see now over 65 miles an hour. And then you should see it really getting really strong now at this point. Now look at that, 66 knots, which is actually worth 75.4 miles an hour. So we can see hurricane gusts, and you see that low pressure right there. You're going to start seeing some really strong winds. Looks like the strongest winds will be for the Keys and for this general area. So it looks like it's gonna be very strong for Homestead, Miami, but based on the Europeans or NCEP GFS, Miami won't get the worst winds. They'll get very strong winds, but not the worst. The worst will actually be out to sea there, and that's for north of Miami. And then once the low pressure and the eye goes over, obviously the winds will die down a little bit. Now getting less than around this time frame, around less than 30 knots. So it's a big change, but obviously Western Florida, since they're not going to get the direct landfall, they're not going to get a break until the storm actually really passes by. So they're not, when the southeastern portion of Florida is going to get a break from the winds. Western Florida, including Key West, Naples, and that general area, will continue to see well over 50 miles an hour, and then it starts to really move away there. So it's going to go basically make a landfall right here. So right near Key Largo is where they're showing a landfall based on the GFS there, and then it goes and then it comes out near Naples. So that's kind of what we're showing there. And obviously as well, taking a look at the H4, very interesting. They've been very accurate with the storm so far. So we will see what they show now. So in the next 27 hours, they have it at 998 millibars, and then they have it making landfall at 996 millibars. And then it gets really strong there to 981 millibars, 983, 984, 981 again, and then 981 millibars. But the thing is, even though it's 981 millibars, which is very low, that is definitely worth Category 1 in a regular storm. Look, 62 knots max winds, which is less. That's less than 71 miles an hour. Still, at pressure at 981 millibars, it's still not getting tropical wind, or still not getting hurricane winds. Let's check out the HMOM. HMOM actually hasn't fully reloaded, but they're showing a landfall way stronger at 988 millibars. So what they show, actually getting hurricane wind sustained. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and bye guys.